Hey, Shalom everyone, it's your brother Daniela, aka the Copper Color Aboriginal. I want to give all praises to the Most High Yahweh, also give recognition to the Holy Spirit, and give recognition to Yahweh Shai. Um, watching a little bit of Khan Drop over here, and he's basically been talking, in this video he's talking about the same thing that other brothers and sisters have been talking about. Big Judah had made mention of this. I watched that video that he made the other day talking about how Max Kellerman was upset that the brother, I forget his name, but the brother who plays for the NFL, he had made a comment about, black people being the jewels of Yahweh. And he quoted Hitler, or he quoted a quote that Hitler supposedly made. And it got a lot of people upset, um, especially a lot of non-black people have a lot of them upset. And I did research on that quote some time ago because I seen that meme floating around on Facebook about Hitler stating that um, that the Americans, that white Americans, are going to be upset when they find out that they have the most highest jewels, and those jewels being the so-called African American. I did research on that like a few years back. I did like a little research, not no extensive research, but I was seeing if that was true, if that was actually said. I couldn't verify. I couldn't find anything to verify whether or not that was true. Um, and I saw Snopes, and Snopes said like, "Yo, it's not true." But see, the thing is that you cannot believe everything that you read online. Not saying that it's true, or not saying that it is true. You can't believe Snopes. I don't really trust Snopes too much, um, especially when it pertains to our people. I don't trust Snopes on it because I know that Snopes is ran by George Soros, and George Soros, I believe that he is a Sephardic Jew, so I don't trust the guy. He's a damn devil. He's a devil that the Most High tells us about, in His Word. Um, so I don't trust that. But see, the thing is that whether or not that quote was said by Hitler is irrelevant, because a lot of us are starting to wake up. A lot of us are starting to know better, and we know that what the message that was in that quote is true. You know, so whether or not he said it, it's irrelevant. Hitler, um, a lot of us have this preconceived notion of who Hitler was, and that's because we were told that by the masses. Um, but it's the same thing with Christopher Columbus. You know, we were told a certain thing about Christopher Columbus, and we seen him in a way. We saw him, years ago, 20 years ago. They were teaching that Christopher Columbus was this hero, this guy who came over and discovered the Americas, and heavy quotes on discovered. Um, Came over here and discovered the America and brought civilization to the Americans, to these backward, heathen, indigenous people of the Americas. You know what I'm saying? But now we're starting. Now they're starting. Now since we, started to do our own investigation on who the guy was, and started to bring out our own truths of who this guy was, and it's not because of white people. Not necessarily because of white people, because a lot of these truths are brought to the forefront because of black people, like with Christopher Columbus and Thanksgiving, for example. White people were completely okay with those things, with those lies they were teaching, until black people started to wake up and realize, hey, we've been lied to. Thanksgiving isn't what they say it is. Christopher Columbus isn't who they say he is. He's not this savior. He's not this discoverer. He is nothing more than a killer. You know what I'm saying? A rapist, a destroyer, and he's no one who should be praised or worshiped or held in honor. When us black people started to do that, then that's when the narrative started to change a little bit. That's when you started to see a lot of these professors coming out saying, yeah, Christopher Columbus shouldn't be honored because, he's killed a lot of people. He helped in genocide and all this stuff, and that he did not discover the Americas, because remember, for a long time they were teaching that. They were teaching that to me when I was a child back in the 90s. So, and it's only due to black people. You hear my wife walking, she walks so heavy. She's heavy-footed, very heavy-footed. But, yeah, it's only because of black people that these truths have been brought to the forefront. And whether or not Hitler said that, the point still stands, And one day these people will realize who we are, because we know that according to scripture, these people have inherited lies, so like I said before, with Christopher Columbus, Thanksgiving, we were all believing delusions until some of us started to wake up and started to teach against it, and then that's when they started to be like, oh yeah, yeah, you're right, he wasn't a great guy. And it's going to be the same thing with who we are as a people, because Max Kellerman, like I said, I watched Big Judah's video the other day, and it's funny because Big Judah played a little bit of audio. I saw the video floating around on the internet, on Facebook, YouTube, World Star Hip Hop, but I didn't watch the video. I didn't want to watch the video because I'm like, I don't want to waste my time on what the fuck a heathen has to think. And I didn't want to see Stephen A's ass cooning. I didn't want to see him cooning because that brother is a coon. He is a coon. But I was watching Big Judah's response to it, and I heard the audio from there. And the dude, he was just dancing around who was saying, like, because he said that supposedly this is the same garbage that you hear, from dangerous people on the street corners. And it's so funny when you hear that because immediately I knew who the heck he was talking about. I knew who he was talking about. He's talking about the brothers who be out there teaching on the streets. That's exactly who he's talking about. And it's funny because he didn't want to mention who those people were, because people will do research like, oh, who are these guys, these Hebrew Israelites, these black Hebrew Israelites, and then that very well could bring brothers and sisters into the truth. He didn't want to do all that. But yeah, just like a true devil, but like Big Judah said, if you guys don't agree with it, disprove it. If you can't disprove it, shut the hell up. That's how I feel. If you can't disprove it and you just only have an opinion, shut up. Nobody wants to hear your opinion, because this type of stuff gets people's careers taken away. This type of stuff gets people killed. So your opinion doesn't matter. We want to bring out facts. We want to bring out truths. Nothing else. And if you have an opinion, you can just shut the hell up, because your opinion means nothing. But they're just showing how wicked they are, and all these people are doing, they're just marking themselves. That's all they're doing, because when they have to answer to the Most High on why they did what they did, they have no excuse. They have no excuse at all. They can't sit there and be like, well, I didn't partake in that, because there's no reason for him to be upset. He didn't say, the brother didn't say anything about, Hitler should have killed you Jews, blah, 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 blah. No, he didn't say that. Literally, all he said was that so-called African Americans are the jewels of the Most High. Why does that offend anyone? White people can depict themselves as gods all the time. They can depict themselves as superheroes. They can depict themselves as Yahweh himself. They can depict themselves as Yahushai in their movies. They can always depict themselves in these very powerful positions that don't even exist in reality. They're gods only to themselves. Because in reality, these so-called white people, they're not the most powerful people physically. They're not the most intelligent people. If you study history, you will see that these people, since the beginning, of their history, have been living off the backs of other people. They like to talk about how they brought high culture, high society to the world, but that's a lie. I mentioned before that I'm making a documentary, and I'm just doing a lot of studying, and pulling sources and stuff like this. And that you learn that these people, all they did was just ride off of other people's backs, and then they get the upper hand, and then they're like, yeah, we did all this, we conquered, we built all this. And it's a damn lie. They did it over here in Americas, so why wouldn't we think that they did the same shit over in Europe? That's exactly what they did over in Europe. They didn't build up Europe. They didn't do that at all. The people who built up Europe were the black races, the black groups of people that were there before them. The ones who brought that culture over to them. And it's funny because the more digging you do, you find out that those people who brought that culture over to them came from the Americas. Just like a lot of the people. They came over from the Americas. And they brought that culture over to those people. They built the place up. And then these heathens are like, okay, well, now since they got this place looking nice and we're not sleeping with our animals, we're not shitting, in our homes. Well, I mean, they still shit. Not to this day. I mean, white people still do nasty stuff to this day. But even all the way up until like the 1800s. White people were shitting in buckets and throwing it on their streets. That's disgusting. It's funny because we taught them how to build irrigation systems. And these people want to make it seem like they're the ones who invented it. But anyway, so, yeah, that's all they did over in Europe. Same thing they did over here. Black people built it up. And then in 1492, they made sure they got some of the last Negroes that were in power up out of there. That's what they did. And they did the same thing over here in the Americas. And we know that. As a people, we know that these people have built this land off of our backs and off of the stuff that we already had here. We already had an infrastructure here that these people built on top of. A lot of these big major cities like Chicago, Manhattan, Los Angeles, a lot of these cities already had an infrastructure there. Already had civilizations there. Just like Old Dirty Bastard. His people are the I was just watching a video the other day where a sister, she was on Breakfast Club and she was from his tribe. I can't think of the name of the tribe, but anyways, his people own half of Manhattan, and they already had an infrastructure there. They already had a town there. They already had towns there. But what did the white man do? They came, took over some of the land, and then they purchased the rest of the land from Old Dirty Bastard's ancestor and built on top of that. Same thing with LA. There was already cities out there in LA, and they just built over top of it. You can see that all throughout the Americas, where they literally built on top of what was already there. If you look at Mexico City, they got a lot of ruins up under the city because they literally built on top of the city. It's the same thing with Cusco, Peru. Down there in Cusco, Peru, up under their entire city, just like in Mexico, they have literal structures, walls, buildings, roads up under there. And in some parts of Cusco, they literally just they literally used the Inca infrastructure that was there and made buildings out of it. Like they just continue building on the structure and use the actual Inca structure as a building. They did the same thing in Mexico too, but mostly in Mexico they just covered it up. While in Cusco, they used a lot of the infrastructure that was there and just continuing building on it. If you hopefully y'all guys understand what I'm talking about. But they just basically took a building that was already there and was like, you know what, let's modify it. So yeah, this is what these Europeans do. This is nothing new, you know what I'm saying? But they love to depict themselves as being these people who brought in culture and civilized people, and that's just furthest from truth. But that's what they're always going to do. That's why, like I said before, you always see them and very powerful roles in these movies. You always see them as being heroes. You always see them as being gods. Like, for example, the movie with the Egyptian gods. I think it was called. I can't remember, but everybody was upset too because they had straight up white people playing as Egyptian gods when most people, even some white people, will agree that the Egyptians were black. Most people will agree, and it's just because a lot of the hieroglyphs show a lot of black Egyptians and stuff like that. UB, he made a great documentary. Um, I watched it a few days when I watched it, when it originally dropped. But I watched it again last night and I fell asleep to it. A very good documentary. I fell asleep last night just because I was tired. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. But a very good documentary. He makes that point. He makes a very strong point on how these white people, they will agree that the Egyptians were black, but when it comes to television, when it comes to the media, they love to depict them as being white or non-black. And when they show the blacks, quote unquote blacks, they always like to show them in positions of servitude. And it's all done by design. It's all for their agenda. I mean, literally, they're just pushing propaganda to indoctrinate people. And a lot of us don't pick up on it, and it just sinks into our subconscious. And it affects us in a lot of many different ways. But, this is just, if we don't, study ourselves and push the real narrative, they're going to keep pushing the false ones until we say something about it. So I'm glad that the brother said it, because now this is going to have people talking, and people who don't know better, it's going to have them talking like, why are they so mad that this guy said that? Oh, now I know why he's so mad. I know why these white people are so mad, because what the brother said was true. Now, of course, I'm upset that the brother did renege on his whole comment. Oh God! And see, this is why I don't trust. This is why I don't trust these celebrities who come into the quote unquote truth. This is why I don't trust them. I would never trust them. People like Nick Cannon, people like this brother, for example, people like, I forget the one brother's name who was in the Bow Wow movie. I really don't trust them because they're opportunists. And I do not like opportunists because they will switch on you so quick. The brother said that he quoted that quote for whatever reason. I don't know if because the tide was riding so high, everybody wanted to get on there onto the black tide, like as if they're, fighting for black rights and care about black people. But as soon as his career was in jeopardy and his status was in jeopardy, he switched his tune so quick. So whenever, they pull brothers aside and be like, oh yeah, man, this brother, he know he's in the truth. He know he's an Israelite, and they celebrate it. And I'm gonna bring out specific people. I seen brothers from Sakari do this, where they like, oh yeah, man, that brother know he's in the truth, and blah 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 blah. He knows he's an Israelite. I don't give a damn about any of that, because one of the brothers that they had paraded for a second was I seen Israelite brothers. I'm not gonna say specifically Sakari, but one of the brothers, it was a brother actually from Mashara Yasha'Allah. And if y'all don't know who that is, it's okay. But it's a Israelite, basically like it's like a umbrella group for a lot of these different camps. And it's kind of like a government, because that's what Mashara Yasha'Allah means. It means the government of Israel. One of the leaders or elders in that was parading, what's the brother's name? The Haitian brother, the rapper, Kodak Black. They were parading him around for a minute because he supposedly accepted the truth that he's an Israelite. Okay, but what did the brother? What did he do after that? He did absolutely nothing. He was messing around with young, minor white girls. He was messing with that one white girl that was on Murray. You know what I'm saying? And he's still up here acting a damn fool. And I believe that this brother, even to this day, is in prison right now because of some of the stupid stuff that he was doing. So I don't cheer. I don't get happy when these brothers supposedly come around to the truth because, the Most High knows their heart. You know what I'm saying? People like that, they're only doing it for whatever reason. I don't know exactly why they're doing it, but I feel like a lot of them are opportunists, especially like Nick Cannon. A lot of people's like, oh yeah, Nick Cannon's the truth. Oh yeah, he's wearing the turban, and look at it. I mean, still look at what he's doing. He's doing absolutely nothing. He's not pushing no truth or anything like that. His little masterclass show is barely pushing the envelope. He's not doing anything special. He's doing the same thing that a lot of these white people are doing. Tariq Nasheed, he had Tariq Nasheed on his show, and a lot of people like, oh yeah, this brother, he pro-black now, and blah 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 blah. He's pushing the message. No, he's not, because there's a lot of white guys who Tariq Nasheed had the same conversations with. So he's not doing anything special. He will only trick simple Negroes into thinking that he's doing something special. But someone like me, I'm not to my own horn, but people like me will see the BS. You know what I'm saying? Um, but anyways, I want to pull back from that. But like I said before, you know, they're going to keep pushing these false narratives until we start to push the truth out there and stop accepting the BS. Like I said, the scripture says that these heathens they're going to be upset because they're going to realize that they have inherited lies from their fathers, their forefathers. And it's so funny because I know who we are as a people. I know that we're Hebrew Israelites. I know that we are quote unquote Hebrew Israelites, that we are the people of the Bible that the Bible speaks of. We are the children of the Most High Yahweh. I know that we are indigenous to these lands, the Americas. And I'm not going to let anybody sit there and tell me that it's not, especially when people don't do the research. I really hated, especially our people, when you try to teach them something that you've done research on and they haven't, and they're like, nah, because last year during the Feast of Booths, which is a high holy day, there's a brother who, me and my wife, we were telling him, it was me, my wife, and it was him and his woman. I'm not sure if my sister or her dude was there, but we were telling him that that we are indigenous to these lands and the Americas is over here, and he was like, he just really just brushed it off. He was like, nah, I don't think, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself like, well, I was telling him like, no, I mean, I did the research and stuff like that, and he basically just scoffed at it. And I'm thinking like, what I really wanted to say to him was, how the hell are you gonna sit here and scoff at what I'm saying when you haven't even done the fucking research? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can our people sit there and scoff? And see, in the documentary that I'm making, I kind of make that point. Like, how are we gonna sit here and believe our enemies? We're gonna sit here and believe our enemies. But then when our brothers and sisters who have spent time, whether it's weeks, months, or years, digging into this, really researching, going through books, even doing like ethnographic researching, which is actually going out in the field and researching, whatever we're doing, however long we're doing it, and is thorough, our people don't want to believe it. They will sit there and scoff at this shit, and it's like, well, did you even do any research? Did you even take anything I said and research it? Yesterday I was on Sisters Bethy's live stream, and me and this sister was going back and forth because she was saying that this wild rice, because the point of the video, of that little section that they were talking about how our people know how to grow rice. It's the reason why they have Uncle Ben on the box. It's the reason why they have a black a black trumpet player on the Zaza Ranch box. And it's because we created it. You know what I'm saying? Just like pancakes, for example. They have a lot of black people on pancakes. Same thing with grits and a lot of these breakfast foods. And it's not only that we were cooking it because we knew how to make it. Just like pancakes. A lot of people don't know that pancakes were called They were called like American cakes or something like that way back in the day, because a lot of white people were eating it when they were making their way out west. They were making these pancakes, so they called them like American cakes or something. Can't remember exactly what they were called, but it's rumored that they got those pancakes from indigenous people. But at that time, way back then, back in the 1800s and before, the pancakes were made out of corn and not made out of wheat or whatever. So the it's funny because the rice, like I was saying, is called Zazranch, and the wild rice that grows here in Americas is called like Zan something, very similar to Zazranch. But anyway, so they were making a point that wild rice was grown here and it was cultivated by indigenous people here, our ancestors. And this one sister, she was like, "Yeah, man, here in Minnesota we have wild rice growing here, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, I was basically carrying her point and the point that the other people were making." I was like, "Yeah, you can find wild rice in many parts of the Americas, of America." And she was like, "No, no, no, it's not. It's only here in Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota." I'm like, "Okay." What does that mean? And she did like an emoji with her with an annoyed face. So I told her like, "Yo, that same wild rice can be found here in Ohio." What do you think our people are? I was like, "Yeah, it's found here in Ohio. You can find it all through the Midwest. You can find it in Ontario. People even grow it down there in California. It can be found in the Amazon." So I was like, "What do you think our people are stupid? You think our people are stupid? They didn't travel and they didn't know how to cultivate their own food wherever they went?" And then I did the same roll your eyes annoyed face thing at her, and she was pissed. She was pissed. But it's so funny. The point that I'm making is that our people, they don't like to do any research. And I told her this. I was like, "Go and look this name up because there's a specific scientific name for that rice." I told her, "Look up the name and then verify what I'm saying and then come back to me." She didn't want to do that. She just wanted to have an attitude because I corrected her ass. And that's how a lot of our people are. They don't like correction. They don't like doing research. They just like being told what to do. I was the same way. But now what I've been doing over the years is getting rid of a lot of that crap that I've been taught. Because I was in the camp. You know what I'm saying? I was in the camp for years. But I got rid of a lot of the stuff that I was just told to believe rather than things I was researching myself. And it's funny because people will be like, "Well, I'm in a camp and I research stuff myself." Most people don't. Most people already have a narrative that they're believing. So whenever they read a certain script, they already have a narrative in their head of what that means. That's all these camps are doing. They're indoctrinating people. That's all they're doing. They're putting down their beliefs. And very little people who are in these camps that stay in these camps are actually thinking for themselves. The only people that are thinking for themselves are the people who are leaving these camps. And of course, when you leave a camp, these brothers are like, "Oh man, you went off. You went off. Oh man, you going off." No. These brothers is growing their own fucking brains and thinking for themselves. Because for a long time they will tell you, "Man, you can't wear a sister can't wear pants. A sister can't wear pants." But when you actually go into scripture, you go to the Hebrew, you go to the Strong's, and you break down everything that's being said in that script, it's not even talking about sisters wearing pants. It's not talking about that. It's talking about cross-dressing. It's talking about that's basically all it's talking about is cross-dressing. It's telling you that it says nothing about pants at all. Nothing about pants at all. Even when you go down to the Strongs and you look at what is the word that they use in there? I'm trying to think of all the words that people use. Breeches, yeah, the word breeches. So when you go in there, it says the word breeches. When you break down the word breeches aren't even pants. Breeches are underwear. They're basically like boxers, and it's what priests used. It's what priests used to cover themselves up when going up into the temples. So it's not even talking about pants. It's talking about undergarments. And it's not just talking about undergarments. It's talking about a specific undergarment. That's all it's talking about. But you will see literally hundreds, if not thousands of brothers out on the streets, on videos, teaching that women can't wear pants. Now tell me that that's not indoctrination. Tell me that these are not brothers who aren't thinking for themselves, because it's not. A lot of these brothers aren't thinking for themselves. They're being indoctrinated and they're spewing the same stuff that their leaders are telling them to believe. So that's why I've been thrown away for many years. I've been getting a lot of that crap out of my system. And all thanks to the Most High Yahweh for that, because without the Most High, I'd be the same way that I used to be. Very unwise and uneducated. But thanks to the Most High, He's allowing me and many other brothers and sisters to wake up and to, and to get rid of a lot of this garbage that we've been taught. So our people are waking up a little bit to who we are. And, even though the brother reneged on what he said, I hope that somewhere down the line before the brother meets his end, that he turns around and repent. He repents of what he's doing and really believe in who his God is, who his power, who his Elohim is, and who he is. And keep bringing out the truth, because like I said before, we're the only ones who are going to be able to bring out the truth and start to make the world to admit to these truths. Just like how I mentioned Christopher Columbus, how the lies of Christopher Columbus is very similar to the lies they teach us about who we are. I recently uncovered, thanks to the Most High, thanks to Dan Calloway, that Christopher Columbus is a quote-unquote black man. Now, in Dan Calloway's video, he did give us a little snippet of Christopher Columbus being depicted as a black man, but he really didn't show any receipts on it. But I was like, that's very interesting. That does make sense why he could have it does make sense why the natives were so friendly to him at first, and it was maybe because he looked just like them. That makes a lot of sense. And I also knew that there were a lot of black people who lived in Europe, prior to 1492. So what I did is I went and did research, and I looked up a lot of things about Christopher Columbus. I found out that the guy is not who not who they teach he is, and that Christopher Columbus very well may be a quote-unquote black man. Well, I found out that he is a black man. It's that simple. Christopher Columbus was a black man. There's a few sources out there. One of them I have is called, the book is called, it's a very expensive book. I got it on a steal, man. I got lucky and found it. Big Judah said that the book used to be a $15 book, but now it's like over $1,000. If you go and look on Amazon, the book is like over $1,000. Because when I went looking for the book to buy it, it was over $1,000. But the book is called Christopher Columbus and the Book of Prophecies or something like that. Can't remember the name exactly, but oh, here it is. I got it sitting right here in front of me. It's called Christopher Columbus, His Life and Discovery in the Light of His Prophecies. It's by Kay Brigham. And in that book, it literally says that he was ruddy as in brownish red. Okay, literally said that he's ruddy. And when you type in ruddy skin tone, they will try to show you some white people with red hair because they try to say that that's ruddy. But majority of the pictures you will see dark brown people with reddish undertones to their skin, because you know how they have like cold undertones and then they have warm. Well, ruddy is the warm reddish undertone, basically sun-kissed, because you know how black people can be in the sun for a while and they get like this reddish tone to their skin. Yeah, that's what ruddy is. And in that book they say, yeah, we know Christopher Columbus doesn't have any portraits and that the portraits of him aren't accurate, but people did say that he was a ruddy man. And I'm like, what? But of course they try to throw other hijacks in there. They try to say that when he was younger he had blonde hair and stuff like that. I'm like, wait, the only people that I know that were ruddy, as in brown with red undertones with blonde hair, were people that were from the Pacific. You know, people who are Melanesian. Because you know how the kids when they're young, they have blonde hair and stuff like that. So I guess his brother must have been Melanesian. But of course they said that he had blue eyes, blonde hair, and I'm like, okay, come on, stop it. Stop it. That book was written in the 1990s. I think it was written in 1992. And of course at that time, blonde hair and blue eyes was the thing, you know. But, you know, they throw some truths in there with the hijacks. So you have to dodge the hijacks because I don't know how you can be ruddy as a skin tone and then have blue eyes and blonde hair. But see, I already know that he's not. I already know that he didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. Not only just because what she said about his skin tone, but because I know Christopher Columbus's. I done research on who Christopher Columbus really was, and he wasn't. He was not a so-called Christian. That was only his cover. I know that Christopher Columbus initially wasn't funded by Queen Isabella. I know that Christopher Columbus was a Moor. And when you look at Moors in Europe, you see that they were all black. And when you look at the early usage of the word Moor, Morisco, Morano, Moro, or Mora, they were referring not it wasn't referring to people of Muslim faith, but it was specifically referring to dark-skinned people of Muslim faith. And when you do research, in like all the way up to the 10th century, all the way up to, I want to say like maybe the 18th century, a lot of the people that inhabited the Mediterranean, a lot of the Moors, shall I say, that inhabited the Mediterranean and inhabited the northern parts of Africa, they were dark black people. They were black, quote unquote, black people. I'm talking about like straight Negroid. You will meet people to this very day in Morocco that are straight up Negroid. Of course, you see a lot of, you know, mulatto looking people there, but the original people there were Negroid people. I met a guy. It was funny because some years back, I had this. This was a long time ago. I had a Ford Explorer, and I was getting my car fixed. I was getting the SUV fixed, and there was this car shop that I went to. It was an Arab car shop, and of course, most of the people in there, they were, you know, the stereotypical Arab person, and they were from Morocco. Because I asked them, I was like, "Oh, where y'all from?" And they was like, "Oh, we're from Morocco." So then there was this guy who, the specific guy who fixed my car. He put the rudders. Sorry, I said rudders. He put the rotors and the brakes on my truck, and I asked him, I was like, "Yo, you got an accent." I was like, "Where are you from?" And he was like, "I'm from Morocco." And I'm like, "Oh." I was like, "Oh, you're Moroccan just like they are." He's like, "Yeah." And that was the first time I learned that there were black people in Morocco. You know what I'm saying? And he told me his family's history. He said that his family has always been there and stuff like that. But I really didn't have too much interest. I was just asking just to ask because I was bored and I was just sitting around up there and just asking him questions while he was just fixing on my car. But yeah, you know, so and when you study the history of Morocco, you will find out that the original people that were there were Moroccans. And that the people that are there today in Morocco, they're no different than the people on the other side of the Mediterranean Sea. You know, they're mixed people just like the people that you find in Italy, just like the people you find in Spain. You know, those people, most of the people in Spain they're mixed people. But the people that are on the other side, that are in Morocco and other parts of North Africa, those people are mostly mulattoes, while people in Europe, they're starting to whiten up a little bit more than what they did before. Because when you go to very isolated places in the Mediterranean, like on the islands, down there by Rome, what is there's one, I can't think of the name, but a lot of the mafia came from this damn island. But when you go to that island, you will find people down there that are black. I mean, like straight up Negroid black. A lot of those islands down in the Mediterranean. It's funny because me and my wife, we went to a Greek place a few weeks ago, and the woman who was working the place, I don't know if she's like the wife of the owner or whatever. Me and my wife was talking about her hair because she literally had black people hair. She had black people hair. I kid you not, the texture to her hair was very similar to that of a black person's. I mean, really, it looked like a person's hair. You know what I'm saying? So, and she's Greek. She was Greek. So that just shows you right there, man. When you study their history, you see that a lot of these people are nothing more than mulattoes. They're mixed people. All the people in the Mediterranean are mixed people. And that's because they're mixed between the white people who lived in Europe and they're mixed between the black people who at one time used to inhabited all of Europe and used to rule Europe. A lot of their ancestors were black, like just only a few generations ago, you know? But anyways, you know, don't be afraid to teach the truth. And don't be afraid to confront lies at all, because I be setting people straight, and I think more of our people need to do that. Some of our people are afraid, you know, to push the truth, but I don't give a damn. You know, I tell people all the time on YouTube, because I see the little comments, because there's this one video that I watched the other day. It was a TEDx video, and it was about American Aboriginals. And of course, there was this $5 Indian guy, or a guy who had very little Aboriginal in him, talking about, I guess, his people. And it was funny because the brothers and sisters down in the comment sections were ripping his ass, man. They were talking about him being a $5, and you know that the explorers mentioned that the Indians that came over, that they seen when they came over here, were much darker. They were dark brown people, and they were saying like, oh, he's not one of us, he doesn't belong to my ancestors, and you know, things like that. And of course you had white people in the comment section, you know, trolling, saying like, hey, what you mean your ancestors, you're African, just be happy that you're African. That same line that they love using over and over and over and over again, because I've seen it over the years. I've been, you know, studying this type of stuff for years, and they always like saying the same lines over and over again, like, just be happy you're African, just be happy you're African. They love pushing that damn line. But I told the guy who said that, I was like, what do you mean? Don't be upset because we're up here telling the truth and we're not no longer accepting your lies. We're not going to believe your history about us. We're going to talk about our own history, because you white people, you love going around making up everybody's history as if you're the authority on other people's history. No, we're not accepting that anymore. We're doing our own genealogy. We're doing our own history. We don't need you guys to do that anymore. You guys, you know, accepted lies, and y'all believe it, but we're not accepting it. You guys inherited lies, and you guys need to go and do your own damn research so you can liberate yourself. Because I told them, like, you know, we're liberating ourselves from the curse of you guys lying to us. And you guys are being lied to also. That's why I told them, it's like, you guys are being lied to also. You need to go out there and actually research actual history so that you can liberate yourself too. Because like I said before, these people, they're going to be upset when they find out that they inherited nothing but lies. Like I said, you know, them talking about how they built up civilization and brought civilization to the world, that's all lies. All lies. Them believing that they're superior people, that's all lies. You know, and at least that's one lie that they can see that isn't true, is that they're superior people. Because every time when we play sports and they compete against us, they see that we are, for the most part, superior to them. You know? But yeah, man. Y'all need to be afraid to push the truth and to battle people who push lies. It's real simple, because a lot of these people, they do not like doing their own research, and it's very easy to get them to shut up. Because, you know, when I was, I guess, younger in the truth or whatever, I used to battle people, and I noticed one thing. I always wanted them to admit that they were wrong, but most people will not admit that they're wrong. Trust me. I've seen it. They will not admit that they're wrong, but what they will do is they will shut up. And then what you can do if you want to, if you want to be like spiteful or whatever, you go like, oh yeah, huh, you ain't saying nothing else, are you? Once when you get to that point, then they will be like, man, F you, you stupid N-word, blah, 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 blah. The real side comes out. Like, yeah, see, I knew this is why you were saying this whole time, because you hate black people. You don't like us. It's not that you want us to love our own culture. You just hate us. And you want us to feel little. And you want us to feel like we have no culture. And that we have no purpose. But yeah. Well, that's basically all I have to say. Just keep pushing the truth. Don't be afraid to do it. Anyways, all praises to the Most High Yahweh. Recognition to the Holy Spirit. And recognition to Yahweh Shai. And y'all brothers and sisters out there, y'all stay true. Y'all stay strong. And just keep pushing the truth and keep studying. Alright, peace out. Shalom. Yahweh bless.